Hey folks, my name is Steve and I want to show you a game that I'm working on, which is heavily inspired by Factorio. So the idea being that you're this little robot that's crash landed on an alien world and is having to build a factory, gather resources, build a factory, automate the construction of things in order to build a spaceship. In my game, it's going to be a spaceship that is going to send off copies of yourself to other planets. So I started working on this project in September, and this is an old build from October, where I was experimenting with how to do various things from Factorio in Unity, which is the game engine that I'm using. So as you can see here, I've got these miners that are using my programmer art, and these miners are producing resources that go into these splitters on the conveyors, and this assembler then produces these little purple cubes and some more splitters there, and these go into resource sinks, so they're just disappearing. So I was playing around with this to try and see if I could do it, and I was quite happy with how this turned out. One of the things I was playing with was different ways that I could do conveyor belts, so I decided to get away from how conveyor belts are done in Factorio and Satisfactory, and instead use a more pathing system, so we can draw direct lines between things, or we can do curved paths like this. So this is similar to how roads are laid out in city skylines. So this is something that I'll be playing with in the full game. Jumping forward now, this is the latest build of the game that I've been working on for the past few months. And this title screen was inspired by Raised by Wolves, which is quite an entertaining show and has an absolutely beautiful intro cinematic with this spaceship falling towards a planet that I wanted to steal for the game. Got some transitions through the menu. So this is very much placeholder art with a cube and some particle effects, but it'll do for now. And now here we are in the game again. As you can see, I've been working a little bit more on getting the graphics and improving the way it looks, adding more elements in. So we've got trees and rocks and grass. This is all procedurally generated and randomly attached to the ground. We've also got the crash spaceship. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I think my skills in Blender are getting a little bit better, or improving a little bit. And yeah, so I've also modeled the little robot. This was created by me. Eventually the robot will be a kind of a little insect creature that crawls along the ground and hopefully be procedurally animated. But because I want to kind of get things in the game before I work on that, he's going to be a little flying creature for a while, I think, just because it requires no animation, so I can work on other parts of the game. I'm going to zoom out a bit more. So obviously in the full version of the game you won't be able to view this far out, but you can actually see the edge of the world, and as I move around things kind of follow the camera. So we've got infinite terrain, and this terrain is generated at runtime, so you can go in any direction, but it falls off after a distance, so we're stuck on an island at the moment. So also in the game is I can go over here and I can gather resources. So I can gather some wood from the trees, and we've got the 3 other resources here. So we've got some iron, so we've got some copper, and we've got some coal. This is very based off Factorio, so I'm going to be changing a few things, but I'm going to be also sticking with a few different things as well. So I want to change parts that I think will be interesting gameplay wise, but I will be like heavily influenced by Factorio and Satisfactory, and now also a new game has come out called Dyson Sphere Program, which looks very interesting. So I'm definitely borrowing from a lot of other factory games that are coming out. Another thing I've done is I've got a crafting screen. This is very basic at the moment. It doesn't check what resources you've got or use up any resources, but you can, like, I've got 2 miners there, so I can add a 3rd miner, or I can add some processed iron. So getting the bare bones of the UI in. One other feature that I'm quite proud of is that we can go over here, and if you want to build a factory, you can smooth out the terrain. So we've got editable terrain in the game, which took quite a long time. We can also raise the terrain. The idea in the game is this will be a lot less common, so there'll be ways of interacting with the ground rather than directly editing it like this. But it does give me some nice tools to play with at the moment. I don't want the ability for the player to completely destroy the environment like in Astroneer, but it is nice that they have a little bit more power than they would do in, say, a game like Satisfactory. So we can just, I like kind of making a little ramp as well, a little on-ramp. So we can play with different levels. So the terrain engine means that we can have overhangs and other things as well. I need to deal with how we'll interact with stuff when the player is underneath, but that's fun for another day. Lastly, I'd like to show you a little bit behind the scenes about how the world is generated. So this is the current map. I'm using a slightly different shader so it looks a bit more map-like. And it's generated using layers of noise, which is using Perlin noise. If you want to look into that, I recommend there's some fantastic tutorials by a guy called Sebastian on YouTube. So we've got 3 layers on this one. We've got, if I just turn all the other ones off. So we've got just a generic noise layer, and then we've got a ridge noise layer that gives these kind of mountain ranges look. And lastly, we've got a fall off layer that turns it all into this island. So we've got a little preview here, and then blending them all together, we get the current terrain. And this gives us a lot of flexibility. So I can also make it so that it's into mountains. And also if I set it down lower and turn this one off, we get kind of sand dunes for deserts. So we can have a few different biomes based around this map generation. Well, that's everything that I wanted to show off today. And thank you for watching. And please, if you like this and want to see more of this game, then please subscribe. Feel free to like the video. If you don't like the video, then please write in the comments what you would like to change or what you didn't like. And feel free to ask any questions as well. Thank you very much again, and have a good evening.